So this morning I'm going to look at Buddhism and Daoism. Daoism was a kind of religion in China, and it was there. It was already there when Buddhism arrived in China, and it's very influential on Zen Buddhism and that whole kind of development. So I just I wanted to take a look at this, take a look at the yin yang symbol, the meaning of that, and try to make. It's been a bit of a crash course this morning, trying to swat up on history of Buddhism in China and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm not kind of claiming to be any sort of expert at this, but just want to sort of make some sense out of the whole thing. So often in mornings sessions, I've been doing some Doin. So Do means way. So this concept comes from Daoism. So anything like judo, kendo, all those martial arts, that they all come from shiatsu. They all come from the same system, and in a way, it's kind of complementary to Buddhism. So doing that body work is really helpful to our meditation posture and energy in the body, and it supports Buddhism's aim of developing skillfulness, skillful actions of body, speech, and mind. So sometimes different systems, like say, yoga comes from Hinduism originally, but again that can be supportive, or is supportive to Buddhist ideas, not Buddhist ideas, but Buddhist practice. And there will be also ways in which maybe there's things that come from different philosophical systems aren't in line in some way with Buddhism. So it's interesting to look at what what those might be and all that sort of thing. So I'm going to look at the yin yang symbol and Taoism and its interaction with Buddhism in China this morning. Okay. Maybe just take a few deeper breaths. And just get ready for doing some body work. Okay, so if you want to stand up, then we'll do some doing and qigong. Okay, so let's begin by just give yourself a bit of a shake. Shake out your hands, feet, your head. Give a shake. And put your palms facing outwards like that, and then just up and down on your shoulders like that. So bouncing with your knees. Just putting your thoughts to one side so that you're just letting yourself be with your body. So leaning forward slightly. Okay, just give your hands a bit of a shake. And then just a slow circling of your right arm. And then your left arm. And just this kind of movement so that you get a twist in your spine, holding it for a minute and then gradually coming back the other way. And at the maximum stretch, you're just twisting your spine and then just allowing yourself to go back the other way. Twisting again. And then slowly turning back into the centre. And then drumming with your fingers on top of your head. And just doing this with your ears, just put your hands over and it's like you're listening to the sea. And then put your hands over put your forehead into your hands. And it's as if you're turning away from the world and turning inwards. So thinking of that yin-yang symbol, it's got this sort of sense of one circle kind of curving over another, and it's a kind of this a little bit of a sort of sense of womb-like image. So you're turning away from the world, turning towards yourself. Tuning into how you're feeling at the moment. Without any reference to what you might be doing in the world or wanting or needing to achieve in the day. And then give your face a bit of a wash with your hands. Now rub your hands together. Backs of your hands as well. And then put your elbow into the palm of your hand and then try to get over the top onto your spine. And the other side. down your left arm. Just take your time to the back of your hand, make that bit painful, so it helps wake the hand up. Just like sometimes we need stimulating ideas to wake our minds up, sometimes we just need something a bit stimulating to wake our body up. It's nice, like jumping in a hole in the ice if we come out of the sauna. That sort of principle. So sometimes life kind of grows more strongly with some conditions of adversity. So I noticed that some of the plants I bought, when I've got them inside the house, they get a little bit sickly, and then I put them outside and they just start really going for it. So you have to do this long enough is the thing, rather than skipping over it onto the next thing. And then palms of your hands. And up the inside of your arm. And then the other side. Back of your hand. Stay with it until you've broken through the barrier. Palm of your hand. And up the inside of your arm. And on the chest. Get all around the collarbone, sides of your body. And then just gently drumming on your kidneys at the back. and then more heavily on the buttocks. Backs of your legs. And then down your legs as far as you can go. Okay, shake everything out. And then just wait for your breathing to calm down. Then put your hands on your stomach. And then when you notice that you're breathing out, bending your knees. And then straighten your knees on the in-breath. So it's down on the out-breath and up on the in-breath. Down on the out-breath, up on the in-breath, down on the out-breath. Try and go a bit lower than you are doing. Up on the in-breath, down on the out-breath, a bit lower, coming up on the in-breath, down on the out-breath. Then put your hands out the front and then bringing them up to your chin on the in-breath, turning at the chin, down on the out-breath. Turning at the hips, up on the in-breath, turning at the chin, down on the out-breath. And then next time just keep going past your chin, up into the air, out to the sides and down. And again, up the middle of your body. Stretching out to the sides. In the middle, and then one last one, which do maybe half as quick as before, nice and slow. And then moving into your meditation posture. So getting used to your position here. So in terms of our posture, Buddhism and Daoism share a concept, which is that of naturalness. So what we're looking for is our body is just sitting on the seat, just naturally. It's not we're not forcing it in any way. It knows how to sit down. It doesn't need any help from our mind and emotions to do that. So just balancing your spine so that not leaning over. If you're leaning over, you need to hold up the body on one side with muscular tension. So just keep going back to feeling of being balanced. That's all your mind has to pay attention to. And then the body will just naturally sit there. And then the muscles of the body can soften and relax in the knowledge that they'll be supported by the bones of the body. So softening in the muscles of the face, being aware of the hands and the feet, where a lot of the nerve endings are in the body. So allowing everything to quieten down. Imagining that the crown of our head, the crown of our head is just being drawn up towards the sky. It feels an affinity with the sky. Just as our lower body feels an affinity with the earth. Just allowing the flesh on the scalp to become soft. Softness in the face and the jaw, at the back of the neck, across the shoulders. On the tops of the shoulders and down the arms. Just imagine a wave of releasing and letting go, passing through the body. Just letting go into the world of the senses, the world of sensation, sights, sounds, taste in the mouth, smell in the nose, touchable sensations in the body. So trying to be at home in the world of the senses, the natural world of the senses. Feeling the moisture on our skin, the touch of our clothing. And just taking our attention onto our breathing. Noticing each breath as a separate experience in life. always new, always different. Having a sense of the interconnectedness, the interrelation of ourselves and the world. So breathing in, I am part of the world. Breathing out, the world is part of me. Maybe imagining that we're sitting in a pine forest in Japan or somewhere like that. And we're in a little hut. And we can smell the resin of the old pine trees. It's hard to distinguish what is us and what is the old pine tree. We're just surrounded by nature. I am the old pine tree. The old pine tree is me. Breathing in the damp smell of the moss. So in your own time, bringing that meditation to a close. Okay, so I think it's interesting actually. The whole thing of absorption. You know, when we kind of, I think my experience is that when I do things like Doin or Qigong, those sorts of things, or actually, you know, I had a friend. I've got a friend Dan who would practice his shiatsu training. He'd do shiatsu training on me, you know. And when I've had a shiatsu, it's often I'm kind of in a bit of a absorbed state or something, and it can be a little bit difficult to kind of come out of that. So this, and it feels a little bit like I'm just a more part of nature, like I'm absorbed into my body, into my physical experience, the energy there in the body. So with Doin and Qigong and Tai Chi, those sorts of things, it's like we're cultivating Qi, you know, which is this kind of internal energy, and working with Qi. And yeah, so this comes from Daoism, and yeah, so I'm just gonna get launch into it really. So it's a funny one, you know, because it's almost like you enter into a different world. It is its own world, and Buddhism is like a bit of a different world. And in a way they overlap and interact and stuff like that, and in a way they're kind of separate. So yeah. So here we have the yin and yang symbol. So this is actually called the Taijitu. And it's the diagram of the Supreme Ultimate. And the basic idea is that so here we've got so the black is the bad, the white here is the good. Here is the bad that is in the good. Here is the good that is in the bad, and here is life. So, a principle in Taoism is that, well, in a way, it's a little bit like some aspects of archetypal psychology. So, like Jung was always talked about the shadow. You know, there's always a shadow. There's always a shadow side to the psyche. You know, so we have somebody might have a good intentions and, you know, want to be creating something positive, but maybe there's a shadow side to that where they they're doing it for other reasons, like maybe there's it's egotism or something like that. So Taoism arose in China. So China, I remember in one of these children's encyclopedias, and seeing this picture of this city that had been in China. I don't know how many centuries, it's like how many millennia ago, but it was before the Buddha, before before the Greek civilization, Athens and all that. And it was a city of built on a grid of with 1 million people in it. And I think at the time, maybe in Britain there was about 100,000 people on the whole islands. So it's like a huge, organised society, which is much older than ours. Older than European, apart from maybe the Egyptians. It seems like it's a bit like when you've got a society that's like that, and Confucianism is very much about duty, your duty to your family and your duty to society and that sort of thing. So you have sometimes you have religions that are a bit more like that. They're about duty and external kind of systems of ethics and things. And it seems like Taoism arose as a bit of a reaction against that, as if maybe it was all a bit unnatural in some sort of way. People are kind of forcing themselves to be maybe a bit rigidly, to be honourable and ethical and all that sort of thing. So it says, I've taken some quotes from the Sanford Dictionary of Philosophy, and it says the Taoist texts share some have an ironic detachment from the first order moral issues so hotly debated by the Mohists and Confucians, preferring so there's some sort of lots of debate, moral debate with the Confucians and the Mohists, and they preferred a reflective meta-ethical. So meta-ethical means what's behind ethics, something behind the ethic, focus on the nature and development of ways. So and it tended to kind of be associated with kind of more anarchic and pluralistic laissez-faire kind of government. So it's kind of like, so it's almost like there's with Taoism, it's like that whatever ethics that you have is always seen to be within a context. So it's like maybe their critique was that it's all a bit inhuman. I saw this film. I think it's called The Curse of the Golden Flower, and it's set in China with this emperor. And it was absolutely brutal. Some of it, these massive armies just going up against each other, really highly trained, but just absolutely unforgiving. So your adherence to the norms was kind of like everyone was just held in this almost like kind of iron-like grip of the emperor, the way they had to fit into this strata of society and all that. So Taoism is a bit more breaking away from that. So very much associated with poetry and with kind of nature. Being out. So Lao Tzu was one of the founder and main figure in Daoism. So here's a statue of him in made out of stone, but it's out there in the forest. So he lived about 500 BCE. So you've got this sense that so if the white represents say ethics or something like that, then it's a bit like it's saying it's not all straightforward. That you just do this and then something else comes about. It's almost like saying that whatever you do, whatever you try and do in the world, it has to be appropriate. It has to be human. It has to be natural. It has to be contextual. So it's like it has to be. It has to honour the context that it's in. So when say for instance you take if you take something else from the same system, so say Aikido. Aikido is a martial art, and so in Aikido, say you've got an attacker coming towards you. What you don't just meet force with force. What you do is you kind of get out of the way, so you create a space. So it's like the energy is coming towards you, and then you don't meet it head on. You get out of the way, but you kind of stick to them, and in a way use their energy to defeat them. So you kind of you might throw them or something, but using their energy. So it's like you're using you're being aware of the context and being intelligent in terms of the context. So when when for instance I'll lead some Doin at the beginning of a lot of the sessions that I do, and then a bit of Qigong. So what I'm doing there, what's happening there is like I'm kind of honouring the context of my body being in a particular state. So the state it's often in in the mornings is I've woken up and it feels a bit stodgy. My energy feels a bit stodgy and sleepy and all that. So if I'm going to sit down to meditate with a body that's in that sort of state, then I'm just going to be battling. I'm going to be trying to use my will to sit up straight and overcome the tiredness. But that's like trying to impose something on top of the reality, which is that my body's in that state. So it's like doing the Qigong and Tai Chi, Qigong and Doin. In doing it, it's like I'm being sensitive to the effect that whatever I'm doing is creating. So I need to, if I'm doing working at the back of my hand, I have to do it for long enough for it to actually work. I can feel that the desired effect has actually come about, and the skin has started to let go and relax, and the muscles are relaxed, and it is waking up. So it's a bit like it's in a way it's scientific. It's kind of scientific, but subjectively scientific. So when people have when Western scientists or science-oriented people have a critique of, say, something like alternative medicine, say shiatsu, for instance, what they're looking for, using their own system is external observation, being able to externally observe and prove that it works, but it doesn't. That isn't how that those systems work. They work through subjective experience. It's like the individual practitioner is assessing what is working for them in their experience. So it's almost like an internal science, So all those systems, like the martial arts systems, like kendo, judo, aikido, or shiatsu, acupuncture, acupressure, all of these, karate, they all come from the same system, and it's like something's been worked out in practice. What actually creates the desired effect, which is that the body, different aspects of the bodily energy and things and health are in balance. So you've got this system of yin and yang, but then later on you had something developed called the I can't remember. It's like a system where you've got five aspects of things. So in shiatsu, you've got like wood and metal and water. I can't remember them all, but it's a different way of categorizing things. It's almost like the qualities of something is wood-like or metal-like, so it's all a way of working with health. This is in the absence of like, say, is it allopathic? Western science. People would sort of find ways of working with the body and with the whole system that actually led to health and long life and that sort of thing. So in a way, the Taoist sage is they tended to live a long time. Tai Chi teachers, you sort of see people in the 80s and 90s just looking really, very vital. So it's like it is its own system. It's self-contained and it's orientated towards kind of being in balance with nature, with the forces of nature, and we are nature. We're not separate from nature. We're part of nature. The old pine tree is nature. We're nature as well. That's that sort of idea. So with the yin and yang symbol, you've got the idea of within anything, maybe there's the seed of its opposite or something. But it's getting at the idea that we shouldn't try and push away things that we think are bad, because in a way it's like saying something will grow out of this, and in the kind of men's movement, which Robert Bly was quite involved in. He's a poet, Robert Bly, and so he talked about the male wound, sort of the way in which men haven't kind of really come into contact with each other enough, or there's not a sort of deep kind of connection, sometimes between men, he says, oh well, the healing is through going through the wound, through the difficulty that, the pain of that, So that's a very Taoist concept, that that the healing begins, in almost in the sort of darkest place. It kind of makes sense. So in nature you've got similar principles of summer, winter, that kind of like cyclical nature to life. It says yin and yang transform each other. Like an undertow in the ocean, every advance is complemented by a retreat, and every rise transforms into a fall. Thus a seed will sprout from the earth and grow upwards towards the sky, an intrinsically yang movement. Then when it reaches its full potential height, it will fall. Also the growth of the top seeks light, while roots grow in darkness. So yang is the kind of more masculine aspect of the universe. It says yang is fast, hard, solid, focused, hot, dry, and active. It's associated with fire, sky, the sun, masculinity, and daytime. And yin is characterised as slow, soft, yielding, diffuse, cold, wet, and passive. Is associated with water, earth, the moon, femininity, and nighttime. So the title of today's talk is Buddhism and Daoism. So I've said a bit about Daoism. So now I'm going to say a little bit about Daoism and Buddhism, how the two kind of have interacted. So as I said, you had this. Daoism was like a bit of a kind of reaction against maybe a bit of an societal norms that were maybe a bit like bits too rigid or a bit too prescriptive and maybe a little bit inhuman. I think with societies can sometimes go in those directions just with the demands of survival. You can end up with quite authoritarian kind of empires that are just trying to, they forget the reason why they're there, like to serve humanity, and they become going on their own, in their own, they've forgotten the reason for why society is there in the first place. So Taoism was there in China, from like maybe something like 500, or Lao Tzu was roughly 500 BC. So the Buddha was the Buddha was alive in India about that time, same time. So this is what's called the axial age. Karl Jaspers talks about the axial age, and it's like all these different important philosophical figures or groups of people all arose at about the same time, about 500 BC. So you had Socrates and the Greeks philosophers, you had Lao Tzu, you had the Buddha, you had the Jewish prophets, you had other civilizations like in South America, that sort of thing. I can't remember which ones it is. They are now. You had all this happening at the same time, and then Buddhism. After the Buddha was alive, maybe like a couple of hundred years after the Buddha was alive, there was a little bit of a schism split between practitioners, and one group went down to Sri Lanka and became Theravada Buddhism, and then that spread to Southeast Asia, to Burma and other countries like Malaysia and all that. And then you had another strand which became Mahayana Buddhism, which went to probably which started out around Kashmir, around Pakistan, West Pakistan, what used to be called West Pakistan, and then it went over went like behind the Himalayas, behind Tibet, and then along the Silk Road to China. So that was like roughly around the same time as the birth of Christ, that sort of era. So yeah, and then Buddhism gradually, Buddhist texts were brought into China in the kind of the TV program Monkey. That was the figure Tripitaka. So this was a story around a Chinese monk who brought all of the texts back from Lao Tzu. No, sorry, I forgot his name. I'm getting old here. I can't remember now. Hang Shuang Sang went to Nalanda, which was this big monastic university in India with about 10,000 monks at it who lived there, and he brought all these texts back to China. So basically, in the Sanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy under Daoism, it says Buddhism came to China at a time when intellectuals were hungry for fresh ideas, but it arrived with massive handicaps. It was saddled with the Indo-European focus on an appearance, reality, metaphysics, and epistemology, with approximations to concepts of truth. Anyway, it's saying it basically arrived in this kind of with lots of philosophical and quite advanced. Maybe a bit. It was all a bit heady, It's full of ideas, basically, and it says the highly developed Buddhist arguments had little purchase on Chinese intellectuals, and the only available common form of discourse that could domesticate this alien system, this Buddhism, was neo-Daoist. Neo-Daoist abstruse learning, which focused on the metaphysical notions of being and non-being. So in a way, there was something in Buddhism that resonated with Taoism, and it was these ideas of samsara and nirvana being kind of intertwined in a way, those kind of more kind of metaphysical ideas. Buddhism came armed with a paradox that would delight thinkers of a Taoist turn of mind. The fabled paradox of desire. Rebirth was caused by desire, and nirvana could be achieved only by the cessation of desire. That meant in order to achieve nirvana, one had to cease to want to achieve it. So you could see how that would appeal to Taoist thinkers, where they're trying to avoid some sort of absolute that's outside of the context of humanity and nature. So the Taoist ideas are always trying to draw things back into the world, into the reality of nature and humanity. So maybe the idea of nirvana was a bit kind of seen as a bit beyond or a bit other than in the world, in a way. and in a way it is. It is. The Buddhist talk about enlightenment being beyond time and space. It's in a way that's just a way of saying it's like it's beyond our conception of it. And unless you are a Buddha, unless you are enlightened, then to talk about it is always going to be not what you say is always going to be not coming from experience. It's going to be, in a way, in that sense, it's not going to be true, for you. So you can't sort of draw out the reality of nirvana from the experience of it, which always takes place within an enlightened human being. So, but I think there's a downside to that, which is that this idea, the Taoist idea, that everything has to be. Because what you can end up doing is you can end up reducing everything to the context, or so you can end up getting rid of the idea of nirvana or the idea of enlightenment, and maybe if it was Confucianism, you'd be getting rid of the idea of social ethics and things. So it's it says that Taoism is a little bit more anarchic. So maybe there needs to be a critique there as well of Taoism, that it can lead to a kind of bit of a sort of relativism or something, or you just embedded in the world and that's it, and you just become absorbed in. You just work within nature to become as in tune with nature as possible, and that's the end. And that's the end of it. So it's interesting that Taoism influenced Zen Buddhism. And so here we have here's a picture of a Zen garden. I don't think it's in Japan. I think it's a more modern version. But so the Zen aesthetic is that you've got elements in that garden that are just natural. So the way in which the moss is just growing there in a natural sort of way, and also the way that the rocks are, well, they're just natural kind of jagged sort of shapes. But then there's also order there. So it's been arranged by human beings, so the rocks have been put in particular relationship to each other, and the gravel has been raked into waves and spirals and that sort of thing. So I think what this is representing visually, this the Zen garden, is that the idea that it's almost like you need both. You need order, which is the raked gravel, and the aesthetic relationship between the different elements. So you need to. There is a structure to life. There is a structure to. In a way, there is an ethical structure to. It's like some order is better than other order. If you just had a mess, then it wouldn't be aesthetically pleasing, to human beings. So it's like people are attracted by the aesthetics, by the fact that there is an order to things, But also you need to have. That order needs to be naturally developed. So it's almost like it's not imposed on and over the reality of human beings and what they're like, and the reality of nature and what it's like. So in a way, when we have kind of gone a long way towards destroying the planet through technology, and just cutting down the Amazon to make IKEA furniture or other sorts of things, then it's like we're not honouring the context that we're in, the natural world that we're in, which needs to be there as well. It's like we're just creating this artificial world without the nature bit, the natural parts of things. So we're not honouring that side of the world or ourselves. So it's like we need to. So I think it's really helpful to have this kind of image to refer back to. And like with Zen, so it's almost like with Zen Buddhism, there's a lot of the focus is on what does it say? So it says Taoist simplicity stimulated Chan's abandonment. So Chan was the Chinese version of Zen that predated it moving to Japan. Taoist simplicity stimulated Chan's abandonment of Buddhist theory and was accompanied by another traditional Taoist feature, the emphasis on total absorption in practice of a highly cultivated skill. Chinese Zen was dominated by the notion of sudden enlightenment, which consisted of the denial that any process leads anyone closer to the Buddha nature. You can't get any closer, you're just there, pay attention. So with Zen, you've got this idea that don't think about getting anywhere, don't think about practice. Shunryu Suzuki, the famous Zen teacher who went to set up the San Francisco Zen Center, he says, your posture is your enlightenment. Don't think about getting anywhere. So maybe that's a danger in Zen, is that particularly for Westerners, that they take that literally. It's not meant to be taken literally. It's meant to be taken in the context of the whole of the Buddhist tradition, which is pointing at you do need to make effort. There is some things are better than others. There is a nirvana there to attain. But if you focus too much on how am I doing, am I there yet? Are we there yet, Dad? That sort of thing. Then it's like saying that isn't helpful. It's almost like saying just do the practice, just try and act as if this is your last moment, and just be as if you're enlightened. In your meditation now. Don't delay it. Look for enlightenment in this moment, sudden enlightenment, because that's the danger of an idea of a path of gradual development, is that we just endlessly put off nirvana because we think, I'm on a path, it'll take ages, therefore we don't make the effort in the moment to as if we can attain enlightenment now, in this moment. So I think the great benefit, the great upside to Zen is that it's taking seriously that it happens enlightenment happens to a person in this life now. No outside human beings, no Buddhas, is one saying. It's I think it's a good place to just keep this image in mind, really, that yeah, you know, we also need the rate gravel. We also need that the order. You know, we don't. It's not a kind of random thing that we, you know. There is a structure to everything. So maybe we can see, just to conclude, you know, maybe we can see, just like I use the Doen and Qi Kung at the beginning of my sessions to help stimulate the body and get the body into a good state, and then kind of move on into developmental meditations like Metta Bhavana and mindful breathing, and then reflecting on life through the talks, reflecting on key issues through the talks. Maybe we could see that Daoism and, you know, the yin and yang symbol as almost like a good preliminary for then moving on into Buddhism. So, you know, it's like trying to keep our practice embedded in, you know, so that we're respecting the context that we're in. You know, we're respecting the context of our own body. We're respecting the context of nature. You know, respecting the context of kind of ethics, aesthetics, so that we're you know, maybe we've got a sense of naturalness around us, you know, that we're allowing that in, we're going into nature and we're taking that in, letting ourselves be inspired by that. You know, but we're also we're raking the gravel, you know, we're sort of trying to create kind of an order in our lives, but an order that is natural. So, you know, I've talked often about just let your posture support you, let your body support your mind and emotions. Praticya Samutpada, or conditionality, obeys the principle of naturalness. You know, things arise naturally when the conditions that are supporting them are fulfilled. So, you know, when we're free from remorse, you know, our ethics are kind of fulfilled, and then we're free from remorse. Then that leads naturally to a feeling of joy and happiness. It's, you know, it's things are dharmata, natural in that way. So yeah. Okay, I think I've covered a lot of things there, and I hope you found it helpful. And I'll put this up onto YouTube and share it in Instagram and Twitter and things like that. So hopefully it gets a wider readership, or whatever it is, audience. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks everybody. Bye.